Well, it is finally here. The game, Michigan versus Ohio State. I mean, it's what we imagined. Two 11-0 teams with the Big Ten. I don't want to say championship on the line because they will have to play Iowa, but the Big Ten East on the line, a chance at the college football playoff, number 2 versus number 3. Back-to-back seasons, though. Like take a moment. This is actually pretty incredible, but it's felt like a collision course all year, and we're finally here. It feels like every week we've just kind of been talking about this eventual moment, and here we are. But before we get to that, Michigan had a tough time over in College Park, Maryland, and was able to pull out a win, probably their most challenging game of the year in many ways. We'll get into that and why we think that is and how that makes us feel about Ohio State coming up on Saturday. Obviously, some potential health things to go over and just in general, how we feel about Michigan and beating Ohio State and their landscape in this entire battle for the college football playoff. And then, of course, we will address the Harbaugh situation, we'll call it, and Sherrone Moore and everything that goes with that. Josh sharing our podcast online currently and my voice bleeping in the background. So jump right into it. Joined as always, Intel, Insider, Publisher. He did it again.
Why is this going? I don't know why the freaking audio's on.
This is my fault. We decided we were going to start early tonight, and then I show up crazy late, and now we're a mess. So anyway, Intel, Insider, Publisher, Mr. Josh Henschke. How you doing, sir?
Oh, fantastic. It's all good.
I told the guys before we came on, for those of you watching the podcast, that this is the kind of day I had. So that's a big drink for this show that we're gonna enjoy it as we discuss Michigan. And I've been calling him the man in the sky, but Brock's been to every single game. We'll close it out a perfect 12-0 this year. We'll be at the big house for Michigan and Ohio State. How you doing, buddy? How was Maryland?
It was good. It was a really nice day in Maryland. Lots of Michigan fans. I will say the tailgating scene was pretty embarrassing. It seemed like the least energized atmosphere of.
I'm sorry, Brock. That's 3 strikes, Josh. 3.
My phone's on silent.
Anyway, crappy energy.
Yeah, not a great atmosphere there in Maryland. Not a whole lot of tailgaters. Penn State
was there more Michigan fans than Maryland fans in that stadium?
It was close.
Yeah,
it was real close. I don't know. Obviously, it's hard to tell an exact number, but the whole entire Michigan sideline had plenty of Michigan fans up and down that entire section right behind Michigan sideline. So it had to have been at least 40%, if not 50 or more. It was a really good showing.
I mean, they've always traveled well, but yeah, I've seen pictures before where like the Maryland fans don't necessarily show up, but I was a little surprised. You'd think Michigan coming into town, really beautiful day, which maybe that worked against it. People were doing other stuff. I don't know. But the Michigan fans that were in attendance were able to see Michigan's 1,000th victory. It's unbelievable, right? This is a program that has been consistently good for 144 years. No one else in college football has ever done this, 1,000 wins. There's a lot of blue buds out there that have achieved a lot, but there you go, 1,000 wins. It's just a massive deal. I've seen, of course, the rivals bringing up, you played a high school in 1896. Like, yes, so did you. And here's all the other crazy wins you count as well. So anyway, 1,000 wins. Thought that was pretty awesome. Obviously, the giant elephant in the room, or the person not there, is Jim Harbaugh, who was unable to attend this game because of. What are you doing? What are you doing?
I'm trying to share the damn podcast, and it keeps popping up, and I can't silence it. I'm trying to share this thing for social media.
Yeah.
May as well not at this point. People will find it.
Yeah. All right. So, Josh, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. I think it's so funny that like before the game and the pregame, like everybody's got to recap the entire situation. I think we know how we got here, right? But going into last week, we had a lot of confidence that Harbaugh was going to be on the sidelines for Ohio State. It felt like there was some negotiations going on where Michigan was willing to agree to, and the Big Ten was open to agreeing to. the 2-game suspension. He'd already missed Penn State. He'll miss Maryland and then be available for Ohio State. Why Michigan was doing that, I know some people have had some contention with that. To me, at least, and again, I'm not going to pretend I'm a lawyer, but the common consensus was once Michigan didn't get the TRO on the Friday before Penn State, they weren't going to get it. That was just kind of the understanding at this point, because they're trying to prove irreparable harm by Harbaugh not being there as a coach. And you just had a game at Penn State where he wasn't there. You win the game, whatever. So this isn't about the due process or anything to do with the suspension. It's just literally about buying time without causing harm. And they just weren't going to win that argument. So they were open to the 2-game suspension. And then we start hearing rumblings Wednesday. And then obviously things get crazy Thursday and Friday. Harbaugh and Michigan accept the 3-game suspension. He will not coach on the sidelines against Ohio State. And then Chris Partridge is terminated. And I think there's still some confusion around that. So just however you want to outline the facts in that whole situation real quick before we get into some football.
Yeah. So
I'll go ahead and share the stream for you.
Yeah. Thanks. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
So basically what happened with Chris Partridge is, the players were interviewed this week by the NCAA, and basically we're told the players told the NCAA that, they were told specifically not to talk to the NCAA. They were directed not to talk. And that directive came from Chris Partridge. And at the same time too, Partridge impeded an NCAA investigation by trying to destroy evidence and not cooperating with the NCAA, which is a violation in itself. So that kind of really derailed the momentum heading into Friday, the hearing on Friday. And it just kind of, the wheels fell off the wagon, so to speak. You can't be having a coach impede the investigation, and the cover up is always worse than the crime itself. And, I fully believe that whatever Partridge had on his phone, guarantee it wasn't as bad as
right.
what he was doing to try and, protect the Michigan football program, which ultimately was his undoing. And I'm sure it probably crushed Harbaugh to do it, to fire him, and to at least accept the firing, because that was the athletic department who did it. But, you can't be doing that stuff. You can't be directing your players not to speak, and, good on the players for being honest. And, it's intimidating. The NCAA may come on strong, but, it's an intimidating process to be interviewed by the NCAA. So, good on them for, keeping honest and what have you. But, the cover up is way worse than the crime. And, here we are. That kind of led to Michigan saying, oh, well, they don't really, we don't have much of anything to stand on, because, if they were to continue on, and, if they were to continue on for this into Friday, with the knowledge that Partridge is actively trying to hinder an investigation, they'd have no shot in court. Right. I mean, it would have no shot. So,
and let's be clear, this was built into the Big Ten and Michigan's decision and statements. Right. So nothing else is coming from this. So people keep saying, oh, Michigan got nothing. Well, they did. The Big Ten has closed their investigation and essentially said, we're going to wait for findings from the NCAA now. We're going to allow that investigation to take place, which, aside from Harbaugh being suspended, is what Michigan wanted the entire time, was the due process.
Yep.
And nothing else is going to come from the Partridge piece of it. He was not connected to the scheme itself. The NCAA has still said, and the Big Ten has still said too, no connections to other coaches, especially no connection to Harbaugh. Right. So in the Big Ten statement through Nicole Auerbach, they said, as long as there's not, any connections to countable coaches moving forward, right? Which you can read into that, whether you think other assistants or whatever might have been involved. I don't know. But either way, their point is, we're going to let this investigation play out, right? This is built in. Okay. And now we wait for the NCAA. I've shared my theories on that and why I don't think the punishment will be as harsh as some people think. But it just is what it is at this point. And if, hey, we've said all along too, I do think the whole Connor Stallions scheme was really stupid and unnecessary. I do think it was egregious, the amount of travel and everything like that. I don't think it brought any advantage. And we know that because we've seen other teams using stolen sign sheets against Michigan that they got from broadcast and all 22, but they should be punished for that. And if a coach is tied to it, they should be punished for that, right? Regardless of how stupid it is and unnecessary, they did it. If they did, right? So we've been on the same page with that. But yeah, Michigan State's interim head coach Harlan Barnett kind of let it slip in his press conference yesterday when he was asked about Indiana stealing signs and made a smirk comment about, well, they do it the right way. So haha. That's the thing that's disgusted me about this entire scandal, using player safety or, you know, the integrity of the game. We can't allow this to continue. And then joking about the fact that everyone else steals signs too. It's just gross. But anyway, this is where we are. No Harbaugh. Chris Partridge gone. You just got this guy named Rick Minter, Jesse Minter's dad, who is an incredible coach, long career coach, just on the bench, ready to coach linebackers. So it is what it is. It's where we are. Brock, after the game, last little bit on this. What were the players kind of saying about, I don't know, this entire situation, whether it was Partridge being let go, you know, right before the game or Harbaugh again not being in the stadium?
Yeah, they've kind of spoken like they have throughout this whole thing, just keeping the one track mind. I think every player on the team has used that phrase in the last 2 or 3 weeks, keeping a one track mind, you know, with the end goal and focus on the next game, keeping the main thing, like JJ McCarthy likes to say. But yeah, Michael Barrett spoke after the game. He said, you know, obviously it's awful losing your position coach the day before a game, but you know, you got to control the controllables and go out there and play football, right? You're sulking over losing your position coach isn't going to help the team at all. And Barrett played a huge role in the game yesterday, coming back after his injury. That's a captain move right there, getting injured, coming back into the game and playing the way he did. So yeah, I mean, they all kind of said the same thing. It's awful losing the position coach, but focus on beating Maryland. That's what they did, and now it's that week. That's what Michael Barrett said. They know what time it is. Mikey Sainristil said the same thing. It's that time, and they know what's at stake. And this is the greatest rivalry in all of sports.
Not even close.
It's not close. Anyone who thinks otherwise is kidding themselves, in my opinion. This is the level of hatred, the way these two teams despise each other. It's unlike anything else. So it's the best week of the year.
It absolutely is. I tweeted something along those lines, but I said there's also this like weird respect that exists in this rivalry that doesn't exist, for instance, with Michigan State, right? Yep. And I said, I don't know if it's necessarily respect for the rivalry itself more than it is the opponent, but there's something there, right? Like I'm friends with Ohio State fans, and I don't know. There's just this weird respect and hatred at the same time, and it's as good as it gets. I'm going to knock out a few questions before we get into stuff. But yeah, Michael Barrett's comments right after Partridge was let go, he tweeted out, "Control the controllables." That was a huge sign to me. I don't think there's anybody on this team other than Jim Harbaugh that was. What are you shaking your head at?
Just some moron in the comments.
Okay. Nobody was more excited for Chris Partridge to be back than Michael Barrett. Michael Barrett would not be at Michigan without Chris Partridge, right? So going back to his original recruitment. So anyway, I see what it is. I'll take care of that real quick.
Yeah, the thinker can't spell gambling correct.
Yeah, see a moron.
Dumbass.
I got to tell you, I've said this before too. These Ohio State fans that don't understand how algorithms work. I appreciate you guys coming in and commenting on everything. Our numbers are through the roof. My Twitter followers, my everything. You guys are just, and it's so easy to mute you. Like I just have to I only get notifications from followers, like, but you're just driving me up. So I appreciate what you've done for my business. The thinker in all caps, go get a dictionary. All right. So anyway, Michael Barrett, I think having him back, his leadership, especially in a moment like this was obviously monumental. AC joint sprain, expects to be good to go against Maryland. I've seen some folks asking questions about that. Josh, why don't we go ahead and just let's get into it. Look, guys, it's Sunday. We're not going to make any proclamations about injuries today because it's Sunday. We got a long way to go. But obviously, Josh, everybody's asking about JJ and his limp, Roman Wilson and his concussion or not concussion, and then Ladarius Henderson, whether he's going to be able to return at left tackle against Ohio State.
Yeah, well, I don't really have much in regards to injuries right now. Probably won't until, maybe Tuesday when they start practicing. Monday is always the opportunity practice is what they call it for guys who didn't play in the games. But, just going by comments after the game, Sherrone Moore seems, Sherrone Moore seems like that he's, I guess, optimistic in a sense about Roman Wilson. And I think there is reason for optimism. If you're in concussion protocol, you're likely not standing around with your teammates after the game. I mean, you're probably by yourself. Right. And I know the Michigan radio broadcast said that he was out for precautionary reasons too. So ultimately, we'll see how those things kind of develop throughout the week. Roman, from all accounts, looks like he's going to be okay. I mean, of course, we won't really know until probably Tuesday, maybe tomorrow. I mean, kind of just depends on how everything goes and who shows up for treatment and such. But Sherrone did not sound too torn up about this. Even when he mentioned Miles Hinton too, he said there was nothing crazy, nothing structural after the game. I mean, that's kind of where we're at right now. It's just wait and see mode. I think he's going to be okay. I mean, if he was in the protocol and he was out, I mean, that would have been publicized, whether it was by the broadcast itself or, the radio team. So, who else? Ladarius Henderson. Yeah. He was, even Sherrone said after the game, they expect him back next week. And
it felt like holding him out was pretty precautionary as well.
Yeah. That one was a precautionary thing. That thing happened late in the week. Cause pretty sure he spoke to the media, didn't he, Brock, this week? Or was that last week?
It was one of the last two.
Yeah.
It wasn't this week. It was last week. I don't remember.
Yeah. I think it was Tuesday.
This is the fastest and longest season of all time.
Right.
It's so weird. Everything blurred together. Yeah.
Right. So, so that's kind of where we're at. There's a lot of wait and sees, precautionary stuff. I'm not concerned with JJ either. I know he was banged up during the week and didn't practice much, but I think a little bit of rest will do him well heading into this game, and he'll have some cleaning up to do. But I mean, Michigan is a little banged up, but it could be worse. I think Michigan has some guys that are hurt, not injured. I think that's kind of a big distinguished thing here. JJ's hurt, but he's not injured. Ladarius is hurt, not injured. And we don't really know about Roman 100% yet. So, we're just in wait and see mode. I don't know what Jim Harbaugh is going to say tomorrow about these guys when they get asked, but I think we'll find out Tuesday whether they're practicing or what happens next. So,
and then I don't even know if I want to bring this up, but he put in the.
I saw that too. Yeah.
Up to you.
Yeah, no, we'll do it. I mean, no, I think.
The rumors, man. Oh my God. him and Clink. Like I've had one person tell me, and I'm fairly positive, Clink deletes his Twitter before the game, and he deleted it before Penn State. Like, this is like a normal thing that he does every year, but whatever, his Instagram live. He's on the sideline. Jay was obviously there as well. That, the question about Jay Harbaugh being fired next. I just can't imagine a scenario where the Big Ten is like, hey, we're going to drop our investigation, but do this. Harbaugh accepts the suspension. Partridge is fired. And then for some reason, Jay gets an extra week. Like, it's just, I don't know. Yeah. The first rumor was, we signed expense reports.
Right.
And then we find out there's no expense reports. So then they changed it to something else. And I don't know.
Yeah. No, look, I mean, even the moron in the comments before saying it's about the investigation's about gambling and all that stuff. You know, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of fluff and BS that gets thrown out there, especially by people who have no merits. But yeah, I mean, there's no, and this isn't, we're not trying to like Dr. JC. Thank you very much.
It's not him.
Yeah, thank
It's
you very
not him
much for
because
your.
it starts in one little pocket and then it becomes talked about
Right.
wide enough that like you have to assume it's serious, right?
Right,
Because it's
right.
out there enough. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you very much for your donation. First of all, most importantly, thank you and for the support. Secondly, this isn't like a shot at you or a shot at,
It's just been a long month.
Yeah. Yes, it has. So
Cheers.
right now there's nothing to those rumors. And I know it's easy for us to kind of get annoyed because like we hear this stuff every day and it's like,
that's one out of 50 rumors that
yeah.
we've had.
But for people, for people that, are getting, trying to keep updated every day, I can understand why these questions are asked. But yeah, I mean, if there was any sense of any other coaches being involved, they wouldn't be around. I mean, they would go the way of Chris Partridge. I think 100%. Michigan doesn't want to risk, an ineligible coach because and then you start talking about vacating wins with any type of ineligibility and all that kind of stuff. So I don't think that's something that they'll mess around with. And there's obviously a lot going around
and the gambling thing. Do you guys understand like the literal billions of dollars impact a gambling scandal would be? And you think they're obsessed with Connor Stallions? Like if there was any gambling issue, one, Vegas wouldn't have Michigan the favorite to win the national championship right now.
Yeah, right.
They wouldn't be playing football.
No.
I mean, it's just insane to me to think that there was. Anyway, all right.
Well, it's what they did. Why these gambling rumors exist
because of the firm,
because of that firm that was involved. And if people would use basic common, and this is not a shot at anyone that's in the chat right now. It's these people that are running with these stupid rumors as fact, like, Michigan, this is gambling. Like, no, they got involved because of the potential cheating aspect of this Stallions ring and what it would potentially do from player safety standpoint.
And literally integrity. It literally said in the statement, we consulted with them about whether it would be good to be transparent with the other programs. So before they made the decision to tell Michigan State, they asked this firm if they should.
Right.
That's their only involvement in it.
And we're not spinning this. We're not making this
their own statement.
Michigan. It says it in the GD statement.
GD.
It says it in like the last paragraph.
Yeah.
So this isn't a spin. This isn't some, weird mouthpieces of the university. It's right there for everyone to read. And people just don't use common sense and common literacy to read the damn statement and put two and two together. Instead, they'll it's ridiculous. It's just stupid.
We live in a 280 character world where you can tweet something that is factually correct, but without enough context that allows people to fill in the blanks, right? I got blocked by Pete Thamel this week because he tweeted the verbiage from Chris Partridge's termination without context. And every single comment in that tweet was suggesting that Chris Partridge was the rat and he was the one going to the media and he was the one telling the truth. And they fired him because Michigan found out he was the one leaking stuff. And I tweeted at Thamel, like, wow, there you go, bud. Like causing a storm. Like this is what he was terminated for, right? It was like Josh said, the communicating with players. And then he blocks me. And then within a couple minutes later, tweets the exact same correction that I called him out for. So by then the damage is done, right? I love when people put the correction under the original tweet. So you'll see the first tweet's got however many interactions, likes, comments, shares, and the correction is like a 20th of that. That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right, damage done. So anyway, we are 25 minutes into this podcast. Brock, let's talk football.
Yes, I was just going to say before that, I would advise all the viewers and fans. I'd advise all the viewers and fans out there to put aside this investigation stuff for 1 week.
Yes.
Like this is the biggest week of the year. It shouldn't be spent talking about rumors and gambling and coaches and all of its rumors until something actually happens, like with what happened with Partridge. So enjoy the week. That'd be my advice. Let's talk some football. This is a game that's going to decide Michigan's season. It's if Michigan wins the game, it's a success, partially depending on what happens there afterward. And if they lose, then it's honestly it's a failure. If they lose this game, it's a failure. And so this is a week that should be spent focusing on the rivalry and on the game.
Yeah, I agree, and that was kind of to Ralph Wolf's point here. 11-0 people, 11-0. Let's be happy. And I think the most important week too is to keep this week in perspective. It's Thanksgiving this week too. There's a lot to be thankful for, and you know we're sitting here with two undefeated teams going head to head for the whole enchilada, so to speak. And you know it's a lot to be thankful for. You know, there's a lot of other programs that can't boast the winning streaks that Michigan has, and you know, a chance to three-peat against Ohio State in a hilarious narrative that, you know, Sherrone Moore can beat Ryan Day, which it would just be hilarious if that happens. But there's a lot to be thankful for here, outside of all the BS and crap that you're hearing every day. You know, a lot to be thankful for. I know there's a lot to be thankful for in my life personally. You know, it's just a good week to keep things in perspective, a good week to, you know, realize what's ahead and what could be beyond that if, you know, things go the right way on Saturday.
Well, all right. Wasn't expecting a little sentimentalness. But you know what? Perspective's good, man. We do get sucked into this stuff, and you take a step back. It's funny. I like interacting with people that like aren't on Twitter and, you know, obviously don't do this for a job like we do, because I'll bring up something that's been going on and they're like, what? Oblivious to it. Like this is actually, I mean, I know ESPN's leading and, you know, doing whatever they're doing with it, but like most people are not totally sucked into this like we are. Like we choose to be at sometimes, right? So all right, 28 minutes into the podcast. Let's talk some football. So Michigan travels to Maryland. Obviously, the narrative is trap game. The game starts out not in trap game fashion. Michigan's making plays on offense, defense, and special teams. Feels like this is heading towards a comfortable victory. Some backups get in. And there's just, throughout this entire game, there's moments where it feels like Michigan could have pulled away and the game isn't close at all. And the things just kept counteracting. But Brock, I think that the storyline coming out of this game is not that much different than Penn State, because the offense again was vanilla in terms of the plays. It didn't seem to have a ton of rhythm, and JJ had difficulties, right? And seemed frustrated at times, but obviously the interception in the red zone doesn't even see the linebacker right to him. Later in the game, they call the exact double move post to Cornelius Johnson that they used against Ohio State. He gets wide open and JJ throws a laser. And I think CJ was late turning around. But anyway, like things just weren't clicking, right? So Michigan wins 31-24, but people are concerned, I guess, and trying to pick which narrative they want, whether it's Sherrone Moore's fault, whether it's JJ isn't going to be able to match up or whatever. But for you in the stadium, just kind of your thoughts coming out of that game, JJ, whatever it might be.
Well, yeah, you're exactly right. It started off really good for Michigan. Everything was clicking, got out to that 23-3 lead in the second quarter, I think it was. And you're sitting there thinking that, you know, trap games don't exist for this team. They're too good and too talented, too motivated. And Amy points out Corman's birthday's on Saturday, which it is. Yeah, that's right. Hopefully we'll see a big game from him. But anyway, yeah, obviously JJ's not JJ's best game. right up there probably with Bowling Green as his worst of the season. But he didn't have it. He came out of the locker room before the game. He was working with the trainer during pregame warmups, stretching his legs out, grabbing his knee, using the elastic band, kind of working with that thing, getting ready. He clearly wasn't healthy, and that I think impacted a lot of Michigan's play calling in terms of he didn't hardly run. The only time he ever kept the ball was the one where he should have handed it off to Edwards, 100%. And he got tackled for a 3 or 4 yard loss. And then the only time he rolled out that I remember was the play where he kind of juked out that defender and nearly threw the interception. And then he did throw an interception a play or two after that. And he clearly wasn't at his best. But I think it's important to remember what happened last year at the Big House the week before the Ohio State game. It's kind of almost exactly the same.
Yeah,
Michigan was really, really banged up in that Illinois game. Corum was out before halftime. Edwards was out going into the game, and Michigan had to rely on C.J. Stokes and Isaiah Gash to get a victory, but they got it, right? And we all know what happened the week after that. It's shaping up to be the exact same storyline as last year. And if Michigan can come through and finish with a victory on Saturday, it'll almost be basically exactly the same. But it's important to remember that, just because what happened the week before Ohio State really has no effect on what happens in that game. You throw away everything that happened the previous 11 games, and it's a battle of two rivals. Which team wants it more? Which team's more motivated? And yeah, Michigan might be a little banged up, but this week they can use it getting healthy. What I'm interested to see is, and obviously we don't get access to practice and everything, but I'm interested to hear about how they use JJ this week, whether they rest him more and get him as healthy as possible, or if they get him more involved in practice with schemes and things like that, trying to get him ready for what he's going to see on Saturday. But yeah, this is throw away everything that happened the first 11 weeks of the season, even what happened yesterday. Not Michigan, probably their worst game of the year, especially defensively, but everything's on Saturday. It's the season.
Yeah, they prepare for this game literally all year. Right. They used a lot of the games during the season as prep for Ohio State. Right. And there's kind of this narrative shift among the two fan bases. So I think it's worth understanding that Ohio State literally just played their two weakest Big Ten opponents at home consecutively. And Michigan just played their two strongest Big Ten opponents on the road consecutively. Right. So this perception that Ohio State's playing way better and Michigan's struggling, well, if you reversed who they were playing, it'd be interesting. But again, we're still talking transitive property, and it's crazy. It doesn't matter in college football, right? You're exactly right. Same exact narrative last year. It is what it is. I think JJ has to run against Ohio State. I think you need that threat. So we'll see. That was weird. It got brighter. But anyway, Josh, Brock brought up the defense. I think that's probably concern number 2. Now, the run defense was awesome, as it has been.
Yep.
I think pretty highly of little Tua. He or Maryland, whoever you want to blame, still finds ways to shoot themselves in the foot. For instance, that intentional grounding, that was 100% intentional grounding. Mm-hmm. I am so fed up with this idea that when a penalty happens has any impact on whether or not it should be called. Like the idea that, the refs got involved in the game by making that call. No. Not making the call would have been the refs getting involved in the game, right? Or in basketball, when they spend 5 minutes reviewing whose fingernail last touched the ball as it went out of bounds because it happens to be under 2 minutes. It's just insanity. Anyway, Michigan gave up, 247 pass yards? And I think there was a couple plays. The throw against Will Johnson was a ridiculous throw.
Yeah, it was a good
throw.
So
it's hard to pick on Will Johnson. Well, Josh Wallace had some moments, whatever. But, yes, 247 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Mike Sainristil set the offense up to take this game over and put it away, and it didn't happen, right? The strip fumble by Barrett, defensive touchdown, Derek Moore recovers it. We've seen Michigan give up literally almost 400 yards to CJ Stroud, right? So do you think this is a concern? Is there anything going on with the defense that sticks out to you? Or do you think this is just a matter of, this is a defense that has literally played at a level we haven't seen since, what was the stat, like 1906 in terms of like, I mean, didn't have anybody inside the 10-yard line until against Penn State,
Right.
Wasn't giving up any points in the third quarter. Just a ridiculous streak of expectations set here.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't run the ball, I mean, you obviously have to try and do something, right? And that's passing, and little Tua is one of the best passers in the conference. You know, maybe not from
just so we're clear, I don't call him that out of disrespect. I call him that because I don't want to butcher his first name.
Yeah, Talia. Yeah, I'll start calling him Talia because I think it's Talia. Anyway,
I don't.
He's one of the better passers in the conference, from maybe not an efficiency standpoint, but a statistical standpoint, yes, because
he's just always a football player.
Man. Yeah, he's a gutsy player. He reminds me a lot of Sean Clifford, you know, just a dude that takes his lumps and, you know, is maybe not as successful as Sean Clifford or can get you a win, but a guy that just always stands in there and is willing to take a hit and do whatever it takes for his team. But yeah, am I concerned about the defense? No, because, you know, if the ground game isn't working, you have to kind of get, you know, the offense moving somehow, and that kind of involves relying on the passing a little more. And, you know, Talia has to get the ball to his guys, and he made some good throws, and some of those, it's just like, man, like, I don't know. Like, you just, like, you got to tip your hat. I mean, like, not much you can do there, especially that one against Will Johnson. It was just, you know, can't really blame Will for that one. That was just a great throw on the money. So, you know, we'll kind of see how, you know, the week shakes out. I'm not really concerned. I mean, they had to, you know, last week too. Let's say, you know, Penn State, you know, they couldn't throw the ball. I mean, they really couldn't rush the ball either. They really couldn't do anything. But, you know, you have to try something. If that
was clearly Mike Yersic's fault. So it's a good
right.
James
Clearly
fired him, not James Franklin, not his sixth offensive coordinator. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah,
I have feelings about James Franklin, dude. Like, oh my God.
I mean, at the end of the day, you know, whatever happened last week, it doesn't change the fact that, you know, Michigan's got to shut down a Marvin Harrison. Michigan's got to shut down Travion Henderson. You know, you got to limit McCord and can't let him beat you with his arm. I mean, he's a very good short yardage to medium yardage thrower. And that's where they can really just crush you. So again, it's Michigan is very much a bend but don't break offense, and they bent quite a bit to the point where, you know, you kind of started seeing some fissures grow there, but they didn't break. You know, as we talked about on the Bleacher Report podcast, Trevor, I mean, 21 points on the tush push. You know, it's like, yeah.
I've defended that play for the Eagles for a long time, and I want it banned.
Yeah, it's tough when the shoe's on the other foot there. But I mean, that's hard, impossible plays to defend. I mean, especially when you got a guy like a 6'6" quarterback that it's impossible to defend.
If it's not against the rules, you got to do it.
Right, exactly. They almost had 3 goal line stands. So you know, you got to take the good with the bad. But yeah, I'm not super concerned with the defense heading into this game. I think, you know, there's a lot of good matchups out there, and, you know, we'll kind of see what Michigan wants to focus on. Do they want to be aggressive up front to stop the run and let McCord try to beat you with his arm? Or do you say, all right, we'll try to shut down Marvin Harrison and all their other talented receivers and say, all right, you know, try to beat us with the run. So that's kind of, you know, it's kind of Michigan in a sense. I mean, yeah, the Michigan doesn't have the 5-star talent that Ohio State does, but that hasn't happened. That hasn't really mattered the last 2 years. So, you know, it's very much the same thing what Ohio State would want to do heading into this game for planning for Michigan too. What do you want to focus on? Do you want to focus on shutting down Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards, or do you want to, make JJ freak out and panic in the pocket? We'll kind of see. So, to make a long story short, I'm not super concerned with how the defense played. I mean, you got two safeties, even though one was a special team safety, one safety, two picks, a fumble, a strip fumble, and a touchdown. Probably did Michigan, lay off the gas a little bit when they got up 20-3, probably. But I'm not super concerned, especially heading into this game when everything is there to play for.
Defensively, I think the key to this game is for Michigan stopping TreVeyon Henderson, and Michigan's run defense has been really, really solid throughout most of the year. Probably right up there. It was right up there with Penn State before Michigan ran for more than 200 yards. So maybe Michigan's run defense is the best or second best in the country. It's got to be up there. But if Michigan can stop TreVeyon Henderson and not allow him to get going and force Kyle McCord to beat him through the air, I think that's the key to the game. That's how Michigan is going to win this game, because you have the defensive talent, you have the guys that are capable of not necessarily shutting down Ohio State's wide receivers, but keeping them in check like we've seen the last 2 years. And it starts with the Will Johnson and Marvin Harrison Jr. matchup. And Josh mentioned, you can't really blame Will Johnson for that touchdown. Or I guess it wasn't a touchdown. They reversed it and called him down at the 1 yard line, but it was basically a touchdown. You can't really blame him for it. I mean, it was just a great throw by Little Tua, if that's what we're calling him. And Talia Tagovailoa. Anyway, I'm not confident that's a throw that Kyle McCord can make. That was a fantastic throw, and we're not going to see probably that exact play out on Saturday, but I'm not sure that Kyle McCord is talented enough to beat Michigan deep. And we haven't seen, other than a few broken plays, and by a few, I'm literally talking like 2 or 3, maybe 4 throughout this entire season, a few broken plays in the Michigan secondary. They haven't given up anything deep. So this is a game where I feel like if Michigan shuts down TreVeyon Henderson, contains him, doesn't allow him to break out a few long runs. I think he had a 75-yarder yesterday, and he may have broken one the week before that too. He's been playing really well lately. So if Michigan contains him, I like their odds of bottling up Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Egbuka, guys like that on the outside. Mikey Sainristil did give up a touchdown to Egbuka last year, the first drive of the game for Ohio State, but then he answered it with a pass breakup that will be remembered for the ages on Cade Stover. So, I feel like that's the key to the game for me. I see we have a little bit of breaking news here.
I do. I have breaking news, fellas. It's just so breaking that I have to stick the microphone up to my mouth. Steve Clinkscale will be appearing on the Inside Michigan Football Show on Tuesday, folks. Maybe we can finally get to the answer of why he deleted his Twitter account and why he's involved in this massive gambling ring that's going down in Schembechler Hall. We can finally get the answers we deserve. That was my breaking news.
Yeah. Thank you, Josh. Live in the field.
This is Sports Center.
All right. Good stuff, Brock. I agree. And lots of comments have said it. We've said it all year. Whoever runs the ball wins this rivalry. It's been the case for a very long time. So you got TreVeyon Henderson. Michigan has a healthy Blake Corum for the first time in this rivalry. Donovan Edwards, he just looks so close to me. The last 2 games, and in this one, I don't care what the stats are. I noticed a difference with his patience, how violent he was running. He seemed to go down at any contact early in the year. He was fighting through some stuff. And I think Kalel Mullings at this point is just like a secret weapon. The dude gets 5 yards every carry, not average, just like literally gets 5 yards every carry. If he's not like a Hassan Haskins type RB1 next year, I'll be shocked. I really like the way he runs. But shutting down the run and forcing Kyle McCord to throw is absolutely the game plan, because there's one thing McCord and Little Tua have in common, and that's they're terrible under pressure. The best quarterback in the Big Ten under pressure is J.J. McCarthy. The worst quarterback in the Big Ten under pressure is Kyle McCord.
Ooh.
So it's just literally that simple. He completes 38% of his passes for 4.0 yards per attempt, 2 TDs, 2 interceptions, 7 turnover-worthy plays, leads the Big Ten Conference. Just for comparison's sake, J.J. McCarthy, 58% of completion rate under pressure, 9.2 yards per attempt, which is insane. Yeah. Anything over 9, period. Like, if your total stats are over 9, you're like elite territory for a quarterback. He has 6 touchdowns. He's just, every quarterback goes down a notch under pressure, but JJ is so good at getting out to the right. I think they need to do that more with some of the pressure they faced the last 2 weeks is get him out to the right. I think missing Roman Wilson was massive in this Maryland game. Brock, you made the comparison to Illinois earlier. It's so true. You don't have your best receiver. You don't have your left tackle. Then you don't have your second tackle. And you don't have your head coach, who is also your quarterback's coach, right? And I think, I mean, I know he's Kirk Campbell, but him and JJ, not having him on the sideline, I think's had an effect, but whatever. But yeah, it's about pressure for me. I think it's about Michigan run game and Ohio State run game. But if Michigan can create pressure and force Kyle McCord, who is also not great on the road, right? Like this is just a couple things clashing together for him. I've said it multiple times. I think Marvin Harrison's the best wide receiver prospect probably since Calvin. He's unreal. But we've seen a lot this year in terms of where his numbers have gone down. They've gone down with catches in traffic, drops, things like that, because they're just throwing to him any chance they can get. So whether it's Will shutting him down or creating enough pressure that he's getting rid of the ball too early, whatever it might be, I think that's going to be a key. And Josh, the pressure, as good as the edge committee has been, and they have been really good, I think Jalen Harrell has been the well-rounded edge player you needed him to be this year. Braden McGregor, we have said it every week, does not get the credit he deserves. He was a beast on Saturday, had multiple plays that won't show up in the stat sheet, a couple that will. I think Josiah Stewart's been arguably the best pass rusher since Nebraska. And Derek Moore, we saw him recover the fumble, but he's been a force as well. Still, the pressure from this defense continues to come from the interior. Against Penn State, all 5 defensive tackles had a monster game. And against Maryland, Mason Graham, Cam Good, Rayshon Benny all had good games again. But my God, Kenneth Grant has turned into an animal the last few weeks.
Yeah, no, he's going to earn himself a lot of money here in the NFL if he keeps continuing on his trajectory, because that man is a NFL prospect if I've ever seen one. It's kind of funny. We're heading into a complete role reversal, because last year the interior of the defensive line was basically non-existent, and the pressure basically almost exclusively came from the edges. And now we're kind of seeing a little role reversal where it's, not exclusively from the interior, but a good majority of the pressure is coming from the in the interior. And that has a lot to do with Mason Graham taking a step forward. Obviously, Kenneth Grant is who he is. Cam Good's been playing great football. Rayshon Benny, had his best game against Penn State, and even a guy like Cameron Brand, guys, Trey Pierce, who Michigan really loves, it's coming from a lot of different sources. So it's just, I think it has to be a group effort on Saturday. You can win with interior pressure, but the edges have got to get home. That's kind of where they struggled a little bit against Maryland. They just couldn't really get home in certain occasions. I mean, there were times, the Mason Graham stunt with Braden McGregor was just such a well drawn out play that worked to perfection. But you really got to pressure McCord into making mistakes. The run defense is what it is at this point, and it's elite. I don't think they have to do much to change anything. Just keep, you just have to make sure you shut it down. And Yeah, Michigan is healthy on the defensive line too, which is big. You know, Chris Jenkins is banged up, obviously, but not enough to, you know, worry about whether he's going to play or not Saturday. I mean, he's playing. So, yeah, I think, yeah, the defensive line is probably going to be the big X factor in this game. I mean, yeah, you can make the easy excuse like, oh, is it going to be the linebackers and defensive backs in order to shadow Marvin Harrison and all their receivers and stuff? But you know, the record of this game with the team that wins the rushing game, the rushing attack, you know, is unbelievably high. So the team that rushes more and is the better rushing team at the end of this game is going to win this game. And I think that's kind of this should be the focus heading into this one, and to have a group of guys that are healthy and multiple. I think that bodes really well for Michigan.
Can we talk about how big that targeting no call was on Mason Graham?
Yeah, they had no choice.
Huge.
Yeah.
They had no choice after the Roman Wilson call. It looked like the exact same play.
Yeah, and I didn't think either one was really targeting. I mean, maybe you could make an argument for Mason, but the first one was so bang bang. It's like I'm not sure what the defender could do.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The problem is the rule.
Yeah, true.
The bang bang part doesn't matter. That's the issue with the idea of a receiver or whoever, a defenseless player.
Right, but you're also asking, you know, the receiver to catch the ball standing up and not dive.
Agree.
I mean, you got two guys going at each other. There's no way the defender could stop. You know, and like, as I've seen a couple of comments here from Ralph saying it was a makeup call, and Eddie, or Trepa saying I'm glad both weren't targeting. Yeah, I agree. I'm glad both weren't.
Yeah.
Because it's a tough. Those are tough calls, and both weren't leading with helmets. You know, they just happen to have shoulders that hit helmets. You know?
Brock, I'll give this back to you in a second, but the point of it was intent. And I know it's hard to judge intent, but like, I can't remember which game it was that somebody played a clip that's like, well, that's targeting, where the guy literally leaves his feet head first like a missile. Yeah. I always think of Brandon Merriweather. I don't know if anybody remembers him when he was in the NFL. The dude did it all the time. It was just disgusting, right? That's the point of the penalty, is if somebody is intentionally trying to harm someone, they need to be tossed from the game. If a bang bang play happens, right, and you want to argue it's, you know, roughing or unnecessary roughness, whatever, okay, right? But yeah, but like you were saying, Brock, I mean, I don't know if people realize that's still the rule. He would have missed the first half.
Yeah,
that part of the rule sucks.
Yeah,
and not only would it have been fourth down.
Yeah, it was a dumb play either way. That's
Had they not, it wasn't 15-yard penalty either way, but it was a totally dumb play by Mason Graham and pretty uncharacteristic. But that's huge for Saturday. That is so big, because if you lose Mason Graham, one of your starting interior defensive linemen in the biggest game of the year, your depth immediately drops. You're gonna have to. I mean, if Kenneth Grant is the next best option after Mason Graham, I think that's pretty good. But
I'd rather have him.
Right. It's still a major hit to the depth, and for that not to be called, it was huge for Michigan. But yeah, I totally agree with Josh. The defensive line is going to have to get home a little bit more consistently than we saw against Maryland. There were a few plays. McGregor was back there pretty often. I think there were 2 plays where
he had 6 pressures in that game.
Yeah, and he just missed Taulia a few times, and obviously he did. I think he did get home that one time, or like Josh said, him and Graham stunted, and maybe McGregor pressured him, and Graham got the sack. But they're going to have to get the better of Ohio State's offensive line a little bit more often than what we saw against Maryland, because like Trevor, like you mentioned, Kyle McCord's not great under pressure, and if he's not sitting back there just waiting for Marvin Harrison to get open, and he has all day, then he's going to have a tough day if he's constantly going to have to be avoiding the pass rush and, you know, kind of keeping his eyes on the Michigan defensive line instead of on Marvin Harrison. So I totally think the defensive line is the X factor, like Josh mentioned. Stop the run, get pressure on Kyle McCord, and And Michigan's going to win. If those two things happen, if they stop the run and get pressure on the quarterback, Michigan's in a good spot.
I think Adam brings up a good point here too. He says, yeah, our defensive line was getting a lot of pressure, but Talia is good at scrambling, McCord not so much. That's 100% true. I mean, that's a big deal too. I mean, you've got Talia that can get out of the pocket and that can escape these kind of things. I think I would say McCord is very comparable agility wise to Drew Aller for sure.
Which I was just going to say, and Michigan let Aller get loose a few times that they shouldn't have. So there's got to be a focus on some contain as well.
But didn't exactly hurt them. I mean, in the long term. But I think, I mean, you've got a guy that is not as mobile as Talia is, and I think that will play a difference too, because you're not going to be able to escape a guy like Kenneth Grant if you're not quick. He's gonna, if you have comparable speed, 9 times out of 10 he's gonna catch up with you. So I think that was a really good point, and also it's a very fair thing to state.
Yeah, make sure I'm not hedging that too much. For comparison's sake, Devin Brown has more carries this year than Kyle McCord does.
Yeah.
So he's not a guy that gets out, which you talk about an Ohio State offense that has changed dramatically, right? Like, I mean, Stroud, for whatever reason, didn't run a ton. I don't know why, because he was really good at it. Mm-hmm. That game against Georgia, I continue to say, is probably the best game from a quarterback in a loss in a big game in history. I mean, he played out of his mind. If he would have ran like that all the time, who knows? But yeah, so no, it's a valid point. And I've been on this soapbox for a while, and I know, Brock, you weren't saying exactly this, but you mentioned, Michigan getting home. I don't care about sacks. I just don't. I think they're great, right? They're drive killers. We saw in 2021, obviously, that what Hutch and Ajabo getting to Stroud on third down can do. As long as you're creating pressure, though, we talked about what happens to Kyle McCord when he's facing pressure, and his completion rate drops, his turnover-worthy plays go up. We saw the same thing just this week against Maryland and the penalties that it forces and things like that. So in a weird way, like it felt like they struggled, but again, 26 pressures. Yeah. 26 pressures for Michigan against Maryland, 4 or 5 sacks, depending on how you count the halves or whatever. But this pass rush is so unique this year because yes, most of it technically is still coming from the edge, right? The most pressures, Jalen Harrell has 22. Josiah Stewart has 21. Derek Moore has 20. Braden McGregor has 19. That's kind of incredible. It's literally one down all the way. And then sacks too, 5, 4, 3, 2. That's bizarre. Anyway, but defensive tackles, 19 for McGregor, 18 for Graham, 14 for Jenkins, 13 for Grant, and 10 for Cam Good in very limited action, right? So is it less than the edge? Yes. But the fact that they're even that close, right? And credit to this staff. I don't want this to be I've done this before where I kind of crap on Don Brown and what he did with the defensive tackle recruiting. But yeah, this is why you go get big athletic defensive tackles, right? What a difference it makes in the run game. And then you have these huge guys that are incredible athletes. So they can do, I apologize, I don't remember which one of you brought up the stunts. But when you're able to have Braden McGregor, Derek Moore, guys like that come inside and have the strength to take on double teams and guards, and Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, Jenkins, Benny, Good, whoever, come outside in this stunt and have the athletic ability to still get to the quarterback, that front seven's incredible. You add in Michael Barrett, who has been a monster on blitzes. I think ideally Jesse Minter would love to get pressure, only bringing 4, right? They probably don't want to get in a situation where they're sending a ton of blitzes, but you have it. Mike Sainer still blitzing from the nickel. You have it, right? So yeah, I come into the pressure. I think that's going to be so massive. Bringing up Sainer still in the secondary, though, I think there's some, I don't know if misconceptions is the right term, but Josh Wallace Saturday wasn't benched, right? What we've seen in terms of the quarterback rotation, right? Very early in the year, Michigan was playing a lot of corners. We saw guys like DJ Waller, Jair Hill when he was healthy. And now they've kind of settled into Will Johnson and Mike Sainer still do not come off the field. which is kind of what we expected when we talked about it early in the year. So what's happening is the corner that has risen the most in the last few weeks has been Jaden McBurrows.
Yeah.
And Michigan feels comfortable now. My pick was Zeke Berry for this role. Mm-hmm. But I talked about this all offseason when everybody was asking who was going to be CB2. And this was before Josh Wallace joined the team. I argued it was Mike Sainristil.
Yeah.
That he's the second best corner. And you can move him outside and bring in Jaden McBurrows, who is a physical corner.
Yep.
Perfect in that nickel spot. He'll be the starting nickel next year, obviously. And then, Rod Moore and Makari Page have kind of taken over their roles as well. Quentin Johnson gets snaps. Keon Sabb gets snaps. But the secondary is pretty locked into who their starters are. So, Josh, this is their biggest test, man. It's Marvin Harrison, Mecca Ibuka, Cade Stover. Does the secondary have the pieces? Have they spent enough time in these 11 games developing the formula to beat the passing game of Ohio State this year?
Yeah, I mean, we'll ultimately find out. I mean, I think, the Ohio State's passing attack the last 2 years where it was extremely successful, but the key word, but it didn't matter. So we'll kind of, that's kind of that caveat too, is, if Ohio State's passing attack is successful, it doesn't automatically mean that, Ohio State's going to dominate this game or win this game. I mean, McCord could throw for 300 yards or whatever. And,
sorry, Josh, I'm sorry. I am a nerd for numbers, and Jason just dropped maybe one of my favorite stats I've seen. Is this true? Jalen Harrell has one less sack than Sawyer and JTT combined in 600 less snaps.
Ooh.
What?
I mean, I'll choose to believe Jason.
I want to believe it.
I don't know why you think that.
I know JTT. I think he's one of the most overrated college football players ever in terms of production. He had that Penn State game last year and arguably the Penn State game this year.
Yeah.
His numbers are never there. Maybe he's a McGregor type. I don't watch them play every game, and he does a lot of stuff. But wow, sorry.
No, that's a really
I had a squirrel moment there when I saw that.
No,
nice nugget.
That's
yes, John. Fewer, not less. Okay. If he was an Ohio State fan, we'd boot him.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Josh. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, well, now I've just got totally distracted by that stat because
sorry, buddy.
No, it's fine. Like that kind of says a lot. So,
Brock, what was he talking about?
Something about defense, I think. I honestly don't remember.
Defense. There you go.
Yeah, defense.
Oh, secondary. I was asking about the passing game of Ohio State. There we go.
This is kind of a good point by Tyler here too. While we're at it, since I'm all distracted and forgot my original point anyway. But OSU defense is better, but have they played an elite offense? Have they? I mean, I don't think Notre Dame's offense is elite. I mean, is it comparable to Michigan's? Yeah, maybe.
Nope.
But no, and do I think Michigan's offense is elite? No. But when you consider what they've played, I think this is probably their best and probably the most organized offense that they're going to face so far. So, is Michigan's offense elite? No. Does it have to be elite? No, it doesn't. But, I think the pieces are there. And, going back to, the Michigan secondary, I don't necessarily think that they have to shut down the passing game. They don't have to limit it to 0. I mean, they'll likely give up some plays, and that's just happens. I think in order to win, I'm fully on board with Michigan has to shut down the running game. If you're forcing Ohio State to pass, I think that will be the better outcome than Ohio State gashing Michigan in the run game. So, I think if the last 2 years have proven anything, the secondary doesn't have to completely shut everything down, and you can still get away with winning. So, if Harrison has himself a game and Michigan still wins, no one's going to care about the stats that Marvin Harrison put up in the game if you walk away with a win. I mean, he could have 300 yards receiving for all I care. And if Michigan wins, no one's going to think about that. it's all they're going to think about is a W. And Ohio State fans too. No one's going to be like, hey, remember that one time in 2023 Marvin Harrison had 300 yards receiving? And like, yeah, in a loss. Yeah, no one's going to care.
Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson went off in 2020.
Right, exactly. No one's going to care. So limit the run game, and then you have a lot. Ohio State's going to have to account for a lot more if that happens.
Brock, I apologize, but I have to do my part as a numbers nerd and change some people's perceptions real quick. So who do you think has the most, we were talking about explosive offenses. How good is Michigan's offense, right? Who do you think is probably the best offense, dynamic, explosive, whatever, in college football right now?
LSU?
100%. It is LSU. Jaden Daniels is, if they had less losses, would be the sure Heisman winner at this point with the number he's been putting up. They score 0.675 points per play, points, however you want to look at that, right? Number 2 is USC. Number 3, Oregon, right? You probably think of them as an explosive offense, right? 0.624, just a hair below. Number 4, Washington, again, probably considered, we're talking about Heisman guys, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, right? Would you be shocked if I told you the number 5 explosive offense, points per possession? Hey, look, it's the Michigan Wolverines, sandwiched in between Florida State, and there's Notre Dame, decent gap between them, right? Michigan chooses to run this efficient, time-consuming offense, right? JJ McCarthy's numbers, I pulled up, everybody's been talking about, he's not as good of a deep passer as Bo Nix and Michael Penix. He is significantly better, higher percentage completion, more touchdowns, less interceptions, right? They just don't do it a ton, but they can, right? So it'll be interesting to see against Ohio State if they choose to, if they need to, whatever it might be. But I mean, the Maryland game is obviously probably an outlier in some respects. Obviously, they struggled in ways, but Michigan's coming into this game with the best defense in the country, in my opinion, right? Definitely run defense. And an offense that, whether, I don't want to say it, whether they beat you with their boa constrictor mentality or, again, like we saw Ohio State last year, dare JJ to beat him. And I know his completion percentage dropped, but they hit the big plays when they needed to, whatever it might be. So anyway, I think sometimes we watch college football to be entertained, right? And that's why these explosive offenses are entertaining. So like what we see, we perceive as something, but just pure efficiency statistically, Michigan's right there with the best offenses in the country. So thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right. I'll add on to that if we're talking offense.
We're talking whatever. There's been no rhyme or rhythm to this show.
Yeah,
and
I guess that's true.
I'll talk. We just said screw Maryland.
Well, that's what happens.
All focus on the big game.
Yep.
But I'll talk a little bit about the running backs. We've been talking about them a lot, but what's so exciting to me, I'm really excited to watch, is that neither TreVeyon Henderson nor Blake Corum played in the game last year.
Yeah.
And now it seems like both are healthy, unless Corum or Henderson are dealing with something behind the scenes. Both are expected to play on Saturday, which that's exciting. If you're a fan of either team, you see both teams' best running backs out there playing, and especially in a game like I think Josh talked about, where the team that runs for the most yards has won. What is it? Is it?
It's got to be 19 out of 20 or 20 out of something. It's something ridiculous.
It's
I tried Google searching and I can't find it, but
it's up there. I think it's 19 out of 20, something in that area. But for a rivalry that's so often determined by the run game, for both teams to have their best running backs out there, which didn't happen last year. Michigan had Donovan Edwards, which obviously everyone knows what he did, but Ohio State was left with Mayan Williams and that Arizona State transfer. Chip Trainum, that's right, yeah.
Who played really well.
Right.
And I was kind of surprised they didn't give him more carries last year. He looked good, and he's looked good this year too. He's definitely RB2 right now for them.
Right. But it's going to be exciting. I'm really looking forward to watching it. I hope. I wonder if Sherrone Moore knows that stat, because I think if he sees it, he's going to start drooling. He's going to be like, oh man, the team that has run the most is 19 out of 20. Let's run the ball 50 or 55 times and we'll win this game. I think Michigan fans would like to see JJ McCarthy get used a little bit more and hopefully not rely on the run game that much.
I think they've done a really good job this year of taking what the other team gives them and winning football games. To Sherrone Moore's credit, he literally said during media available at the beginning of this season, when people were asking about the pass run balance, he said, there are going to be games that fans aren't happy with us.
Yeah.
Right? He said that. He's like, we're going to leave with a W. Sometimes that won't be pretty, whatever. We're going to win football games. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But Josh, that kind of gets us into what I think needs to be the last topic, which we've talked about Jim not being there. Mm-hmm. But I think people have started to form very strong opinions about Sherrone Moore being head coach, offensive coordinator, offensive line coach, whether he's taken on too much, whether his play calling has been impacted by Harbaugh not being there. We're guessing on a lot of things, right? We don't know what would have happened, right? There's no way to analyze that. But I think we're past pretending Jim Harbaugh not being there doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. I do think having him all week, literally traveling with the team, right? And being at the practices, literally the only time he's not there is at the stadium. And this will be the first week that they literally know the entire week what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I guess I don't know what my question is, but
well,
just more in all the conversation around him. And man, if like you said, if he wins this football game,
yeah,
I mean,
I'm just laughing just thinking about it.
You already brought up, what was it? He has as many ranked road wins as Franklin or something like that, just by winning the one game.
He has many top 10 wins.
Yeah,
than James Franklin.
If he is coaching when Michigan wins its third straight game against Ohio State, and Ryan Day, to his credit, is arguably a great football coach. There's no reason to argue he's not. His numbers are unbelievable. He's lost 2 Big Ten football games his career to Michigan. That's it.
Yeah.
Right? If he loses this game, I saw earlier somebody posted Michigan's in like a lose-lose situation because whether they win or not, like they're going to be called cheaters. Yeah, who cares?
Gives a
who cares, dude? Rivals are going to do that. I've brought up the Astros analogy before. I've brought up Deflategate. Like the people that complain and call them cheaters are the teams that suck and don't win. It's just a fact.
You know
the
why
Jets don't bring up Deflategate. You want to be the Patriots or do you want to be the Jets, dude? Get out of here.
Yeah.
If they win, it doesn't matter. I would argue they're in a win-win situation. If they win, oh my God, 3 straight against Ohio State. Jim Harbaugh is back. Big Ten championship, CFP, everything's still available to you. You got through this nightmare. If you lose, like, yes, that's terrible. You didn't have your head coach. Like, is somebody get, Ryan Day got his way. They complained and there's no Harbaugh, whatever. If Ryan Day loses this football game, who has more pressure on them right now? Let's be honest. But anyway,
he might be gone,
which is stupid. But go ahead.
Yeah,
I think it's stupid.
The reason why I just folded my arms just now because I caught myself was about to do a very offensive gesture with my hands. With when you brought up the lose-lose situation that Harbaugh's cheating.
Mel Tucker.
Yeah. I was going to do something similar to that. So I don't give a rat's ass about what happens if Michigan wins this game. I don't care. I do not care. It would be hilarious if Michigan wins this game. But anyway,
when I thought it, I like the little angel and devil. I told myself not to say it, and I still said it.
Well, we can't have that moment back. So we just got to embrace it. So I don't even know what the original question was. I was just too busy focusing on
Sherrone Moore,
emotion.
and all the narratives that exist with him and the amount of roles he's currently hats he's wearing, roles he's playing, whether it's impacting, whether it's his play calling or the team in general. Just how do you feel about? Or I guess we've talked all year about your confidence meter going into this game. Is it changed because of Sherrone Moore? Have you lost faith in Sherrone Moore? However you want to look at it, I guess.
We go into this game saying, throw out all the records. It doesn't matter what's happened these past 11 games. This is the game. It goes the same way with the coaching staff. It doesn't matter about the last 11 games. What matters now is what happens in this game on Saturday. And that's all that's going to matter. No one's going to care that, Sherrone Moore led this team to a victory on the road. I mean, maybe not no one, but a small majority might. But if, Michigan lays an egg on Saturday, that kind of says a whole lot more than, anything else. So I don't care if Jim Harbaugh was, extended from the Michigan rafters and he had to stay there the whole time on a rope, just dangling from the press box. I don't care. You have to win the game. You have to play the game. It doesn't matter who is on the sidelines, who's not on the sidelines. Harbaugh is going to be there all week. He just won't be there Saturday. There's going to be a game plan. There's going to be a plan. Anything that matters from here on out, anything that happens from here on out, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's the seniors' last game at Michigan Stadium. It's for the marbles. It's for everything. This is everything that they've worked for, even before all the BS happened before the year. This is the final vindication point for this entire team to give one giant middle finger to the entire college football world, saying, you guys tried to bring me down. It didn't happen. You can do whatever you want to the team, but it's not going to break us apart. Here we are. We're here to stay. F you, everyone. Double birds on the way out. It's a beautiful storybook ending if it goes that way. It doesn't necessarily always end that way, but that's why you play the games. And yeah, would you want Jim Harbaugh on the sidelines? Well, duh. I mean, who doesn't want Jim Harbaugh on the sidelines? But it's mostly from a narrative standpoint at this point with Jim Harbaugh not being there or not. I mean, it's just a narrative standpoint. Sherrone Moore wants to be a head coach one day. Well, here you go. You can earn all your money here on Saturday. Doesn't matter what you did the last 3 games. Doesn't matter what you've done. Here you go. You'll have people barking up in your back door trying to get you on their team if you win this game. And maybe I'm not even convinced he wants to leave, because I very well believe if he wins this game, he's going to replace Jim Harbaugh when it's done. They're going to pay him whatever the hell he wants to stay in Ann Arbor to replace Jim Harbaugh whenever he leaves. And I'm not saying it's going to happen after this year, but I'm just saying whenever it's time to go, Sherrone Moore is going to step in.
The coach in waiting thing, we've talked about this before. It's hard to say that because things change. But today, whenever it happens, today, the next head football coach at Michigan is Sherrone Moore.
100%.
Yeah. So
100%. The experience is there. Sherrone isn't foreign to this rivalry. He knows what's going on.
He loves this program.
He loves the program. It doesn't matter what's happened leading up to this point. Michigan is 11-0. Ohio State is 11-0. The team that wins this is likely going to the college football playoff, because I don't give two whats about Iowa. I mean, they suck. I'm not worried about them in the West. This is for the marble here. This, whatever happens next week, is just a nice little fun little stepping stone to onto the college football playoff. So this is for the marbles, and it just does not matter. Everything matters on Saturday, and that's what it's all about.
This is why everyone came back.
Exactly.
Like, you look down the list of the one more year fund that was put together in January when Blake Corum, Trevor Keegan, Zach Zinter, all these guys, Mikey Sainer still, everyone who could have gone pro and decided to come back. It was to win this game, and it was to win another Big Ten title and a national title. And none of those 2 things, the Big Ten title and the national title, happened without winning this game because the loser's not getting in. So this is a playoff game. This is, if you want to call it a national quarterfinal, I'd be fine with that because the winner's going to the playoff. I think even if in some bizarre world the winner of this game loses to Iowa, I still think they're in. And maybe that's a hot take. I don't know, but this is why everyone came back.
There's so much unknown with the other teams. We've got
Right.
5 11-0 teams right now. It's crazy, but I get what you're saying.
Right.
It'd have to be like a USC and Ohio State situation again. Would the loser of the conference championship be punished and somebody who didn't play put in, blah, blah, blah. But
yeah, I mean, emotions are at an all-time high. You have to, if I'm a player, this entire week, I'm thinking about my entire career at Michigan. And for the older guys, it was the first couple years were spent losing to Ohio State. 2019, for the guys that have been around a real long time, I guess some of them haven't lost at all, right? But you think about your entire time at Michigan, and for the guys who came back, this is it. Like the season's a total failure. The whole reason, the whole purpose behind coming back was to get to that next level that wasn't achieved last year in the TCU game, and that doesn't happen without winning this game. Like this is bigger than last year, honestly, because Ohio State still got in last year, and Michigan might have too, right?
There's a lot more narratives to break and set as well too. This is
right. And I know we don't cover Ohio State, but Ohio State fans were on the set of Fox Big Noon Kickoff after the game last year, chanting "We want Urban" after losing 2 in a row.
Great point.
If they lose 3 in a row, and the third one is to Michigan without Jim Harbaugh, Sherrone Moore, with everything that's going on, I don't see how he sticks around. I think they run him out of town. There's no way they let him stay there. So that's my 2 cents on that whole deal, but
I'm glad you brought that up because I think people forget what the tone was before USC lost to Utah. Right? Ohio State was going to another Rose Bowl or whatever, probably, right? And Ohio State fans were literally like, we don't care. Like, this is garbage. Like, they were furious, man. So I'm with you. I don't know if they fire him. That's a whole nother crazy element. But yeah, in terms, again, of tone, narrative, fan bases, etc. Yes, Shadyville. I want to see Tony Petitti give Coach Harbaugh the conference title trophy. I have a little rant I'm going to get into in a second, but yeah, the moments I'm looking forward to over the next couple weeks, hopefully happening. One, I don't want to say I can't believe because of course they're coming, but ESPN having College Game Day in Ann Arbor for this game. I don't know what their plan is, but it's going to be an ugly scene, I think, whether people decide to boycott or show up and boo the entire show, or, I mean, they're probably not going to allow signs or something. Like the level they're going to have to go to. I can't believe they're coming. Part of me thinks that's part of it, though, is they want to make Michigan fans look crazy, but that's a whole nother element. And then, Michigan winning the Big Ten championship and having that moment, Petitti will get booed unbelievably at Harbaugh because he can't help himself, will do something in that moment that will become a meme when he gets the trophy. But that's a long way to go. They got to beat Ohio State, like you said. I just want to talk about this. It's been in the comments, and you guys aren't wrong. You're not wrong to care about these narratives and what's being said, and it's frustrating, right? And it's really hard living in these moments. And I don't want the poster who's been posting this stuff, C2 Trades, I don't want you to feel like I'm picking on you. I don't think you're wrong when you bring up this idea of asterisk and what fans will say. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter because they can't take these moments away from you, right? Even the teams that have literally had wins vacated. Does Michigan feel like they won the 23 or 2013 basketball championship? Do you think anyone at Louisville feels like they didn't, right? And that's literally been stripped. Mm-hmm. Fans and rival fans are going to say whatever they want to say and it's always going to exist. I've compared this scandal to Deflategate over and over again because no one knew what that rule was before it happened. Nobody knew the ball had to be inflated to a certain measure. And anyone pretending it actually mattered is insane. They take the balls, they scuff them, they mud them, they do all these crazy things to it, right? But the person who was doing it was Tom Brady. And he's the greatest quarterback of all time. And unless he's on your team, you hated him. And it was the New England Patriots, which unless you root for them, you hate them because they win. Aaron Rodgers literally came out in the middle of that scandal and said, I do the same thing, and nobody cared, right? It's the exact same thing that's happening here. The Michigan State coach making the comments about Indiana, who at least they do it the right way. We've seen literal evidence of Ohio State having call sheets for the 2018 game. We know in 2022 that Ohio State had Michigan signs and they changed their own because they knew Michigan was stealing theirs. And they still suggest that Michigan had some sort of advantage in that game. They always will. And you as Michigan fans, if the shoe was on the other foot, would have done the same thing. Because it's tribalism that exists in college sports. It's talk. You're living in the moment right now, and it feels hotter than it ever has because it's right now. I promise you, winning these games in time will heal this. And even if Ohio State fans try to be like, yeah, but you guys cheated, they will be laughed out of the room because no one cares. Just like Tom Brady is the GOAT and the Patriots won that Super Bowl. Can you even tell me which Super Bowl was the Deflategate or which games he was suspended? You have no idea.
I don't even know the year. I can't even.
Of course you don't. That's my point. You don't know. You know why you don't know? Because they kept winning.
Yeah.
What they built rolled on. And that's the key. And that's what this team has to be focused on. And I think they will be. And in terms of, they could vacate wins. And if they find out any more and, the more punishment, they want you to believe that. They've already taken the devices. They've already interviewed players. We've already seen Connor Stallions resign. They have all the evidence from all the other schools, right? And this is still where we are. Intimidation. That's what's happening, right? And that's probably going to continue for a little bit. But at the end of the day, the NCAA knows that this rule is stupid, and that's why they tried to get rid of it 2 years ago. They know sign stealing is beyond prevalent, and it's a part of the game. And they know in-person scouting happens, and Michigan is not the only program to do this. It's not a coincidence that a lot of coaches in the SEC are very quiet about this entire scandal, right? The NCAA does not want to bust a giant can on this, right? The reason everything was getting leaked to the media and the Big Ten coaches and ADs and presidents were putting so much pressure on is because the NCAA wasn't doing anything. And Jim Harbaugh was going to get a contract extension. And Michigan was on track to win another conference championship and potentially a national championship. That's why this has become a storm. Weather the storm, and that's all you can do. If you're a fan, they're trying to ruin this year for you. Don't let them, man. I mean, they already have to an extent. Stop letting them. It's game week. Like Josh said, it's Thanksgiving. It's just this is what we live for with college football. It's the best time of the year, man. Try and enjoy it. Ignore the BS and stop worrying about what's going to happen because there's a very good chance, A, it's not going to, or B, you can't control it. And C, last point, who gives a crap what fans of other schools think, man? Just who cares, right? So that's what I got on that. I spent all offseason telling people enjoy this year because we don't know how often these kind of years come around, and it's frustrating. I've said it multiple times. Connor Stallions did something stupid, egregious, and technically broke a rule. He should be punished. Michigan should be punished. Any coaches, whatever. But the idea that player safety was a concern, that a massive competitive advantage existed, it's bullcrap. So anyway, you got a game on Saturday, folks. It's part 3 of a trilogy, the 21, 22, 23. This feels like an era in many ways coming to an end. Let's just enjoy some football, man. That's my thoughts. So let's do it, man. Ohio State. You guys want to give me some score predictions? What do you think? I know it's early. How about just general feel how you think this game is going to go? Give me what you got on a Sunday.
Low scoring.
Yeah.
I won't give a score prediction yet because I got to think about it some more. But I wouldn't be surprised if both teams scored fewer than 24 points. That's kind of where I'm at. I think the over-under is at like 48. I'd take the under.
Yeah, I'm thinking. Yeah, probably like I don't know, Michigan. I'm predicting Michigan to win. Probably like I don't know, 28-14, 17 or something like that. Maybe even a 20, 28. Anything from there. I haven't really decided yet, but I don't think Michigan scores more than 30. I think if Michigan does score by more than 30, I think they'll win the game running away for sure. But and that goes for Ohio State too. If they score more than 30, I think they'll win the game too. But
30 is the number.
Yeah, I think that's the magic number there. If they can get over 30, they're going to be sitting pretty good. But yeah, I still think Michigan wins this one on Saturday.
Yep. If we're going with the pattern over the last 2 years, it should be 48-19 Michigan. So,
I mean, if that does happen, that'd be hilarious. I just don't see them scoring 48 points. I mean, you can never say never. I mean, the last 2 years, I would have never have said, oh, they would have scored 40 something points. So,
right.
It's just we'll see.
And
this one is always so tough to predict. This game.
I'm with you. It's getting to 30. I think Michigan's entire run of success. I think I actually tweeted that during the Maryland game where I'm like, you got to keep them below 30, and you get to 30, and it was 31-24. Like that's the number. You could argue. I mean, Michigan should have had 52 last year if we want to be honest about that strip sack at the end of the game. But anyway, those games, those final totals, the late touchdowns kind of pushed them into the 40 range, right? They literally let Hassan Haskins score his 5th touchdown because they were trying to get the ball back. That was their only chance, right? So I think that's where I'm at, like a 30-20. I think it'll be close, and it's going to be a defensive battle, and I think there's going to be a lot of feeling out early. I think Ohio State will get theirs, which they always do in these games, but I go back to if I cut out all of the noise, whether it's the last 2 weeks, and like I said, Ohio State having their easiest games at home and Michigan having their toughest games, if I cut all that out and I go back to what I thought at the beginning of the year, which is where has Michigan improved? Where has Ohio State improved? Where have they gotten worse? Whatever. I don't see where Ohio State is caught up. And as a guy that loves numbers and data and analytics, blah, 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 SP Plus has been my favorite metric all year. And Bill Connolly at ESPN continues to say Michigan's the best team, and he's got them at like 6 points and a home, more than that with a home advantage. And look, we've talked about before, if you play this game 10 times, you're getting 10 different results, right? And Michigan might win 5 times and Ohio State might win 5 times. So it's about doing the things to make sure you play the game where you win. You're one of those. And so far, Michigan has been the least penalized teams. They've been smart, but the Mason Graham play, part of the reason that stuck out so much last week was that was really uncharacteristic for this team to make such a costly penalty where the roles have kind of reversed. It's been Ohio State, right? Last year, whether it was botching their own fake punt call, that would have worked. It would have worked, right? Or, the unnecessary roughness on the sideline. They've been the ones that have been frustrated. And I just think this crowd, this environment on Saturday is going to be unbelievable. I was there in the stadium in 2021, and there was just a vibe and a mood there. I think we'll know early if that vibe exists, if you will. But I'm with you, Brock. This is what they came back for. I just think they're going to be uber focused on it, and they're not going to, they've spent a year thinking about this game, right? And coming back for this. Yeah, I'm still picking Michigan. And then as far as the CFP, I got no idea.
Yeah.
I always say that stuff works itself out, but man, 5-11-0s, some really good one-loss teams. Alabama, Oregon, Texas, these teams that are like on the outside where any other year probably would have been easy to get in. It's going to be a fun last year of the 14 playoff. But man, 12 teams sure would be good this year, wouldn't
it?
Yep. Yeah. Asking for chaos at this time of the year is asking for a lot with a 14 playoff. So
yeah. I thought we were going to get it with Washington and Oregon State. That was going to start it.
Yeah.
Oregon, man. Oregon's got to play Oregon State and then try to redeem themselves against Washington.
Yep.
Florida
State's got to navigate without Travis. I mean,
that was
jeez.
I don't want to say make jokes, but on Twitter, like I was joking with my friend Waddy, who has no stomach for injuries whatsoever.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming it's because of the rule changes and trying to avoid the higher hits. But we've seen so many of those injuries the last few years, and it's just awful.
Yeah.
You know, Travis was a guy that came back. He's 6th year, right? Is he 5th or 6th year?
I think so. Something like that.
Yeah, but to come back and have the year he's had and everything in front of you, it's just brutal. Sports is an amazing thing that can unite people, and there's a lot of good things that come from it. But there's just these moments that, it hurts, man. It's really unfortunate. So you hate to see that. And I've said that with, when Brock Bowers was hurt, I was like, man, the football is better if he's healthy and he's playing, So anyway, all right, we went long today and you guys have stuck with us, and I appreciate you, the comments, the conversations, the questions. It's what makes Hail to the podcast one of my favorite things that we do here at Maize and Blue Review. I recognize a lot of names, so I know a lot of you are already subscribers over at michigan.rivals.com, but the conversations we're having here happen all day, every day over at the Den. We really are just incredibly proud of the message board community that we've built, that our members have built, that our community has built, right? We've added a lot of folks in the last couple months, and you have a good culture and a good foundation if the folks come in and can feel it and kind of just buy into it right away, right? You don't have to coach the new people on what your community is built on. They just kind of show up and go, okay, this is how things roll here. So we've been really proud of what's happening over at michigan.rivals.com in the community of the Den. And then obviously Josh and his intel and everything he's been able to provide over the last, I keep saying month, 2 weeks. I don't even know.
I don't know.
I've really lost track of time. And I hope you guys know, I've seen people suggest that, us insiders or whatever, just make stuff up, or we're mouthpieces for the AD. And, especially when some legal things don't go the way we expected, as if we can predict it. Josh works really hard. and I hope you guys know, literally from sometimes 5 a.m, we start texting, but usually later if Josh sleeps in, but we communicate all day.
Which is a lot.
Yeah. We communicate all day and all night, and all these rumors. I hope, like Josh said, we're not mad at you guys for asking. I hope we see all of those, and we look into all of them extensively, and we make sure whatever we bring to the board is accurate. And that's a lot of work, because when there's a couple rumors in a slow time of year, it's not hard to do. When there's 50, it's really hard to do. So when the one credible thing makes it to the board, there was hours of work behind it, and God knows how many other things we've dispelled in the process. So I've kissed Josh's ass a lot the last few weeks, but I just continue to be really proud to work for you and be a part of this. So I hope you guys join us, michigan.rivals.com/sign up. If you want to give us a try and you want to use the promo Blue30 for a free month, feel free. But we'd love to have you over there. And then obviously, if you're watching us on YouTube live, thank you. If you're not and you're watching the playback and you want to be a part of the live show, subscribe, notification bell, know when we go live. Dennis with his afternoon live show. He has tons of great guests. Toski with his film analysis. There's just tons of stuff to consume on YouTube, as well as our site, Maize and Blue Review. So I have talked a lot in this show. I can feel it. So Josh, Brock, give you guys last thoughts before we round out, because last time I did this, I botched the finish hard. So I'm gonna let you guys talk before I do the last little bit.
Not much more to say other than, please give us a shot. Michigan.rivals.com/sign up.
Timed that well. It's gone.
And win the damn game. That's all you need to worry about this week. Win the damn game.
Reminder to everyone that Michigan plays Ohio State this weekend, not Penn State.
You son of a bitch. I've watched that back quite a few times, because my favorite part is I say Michigan, Penn State, here, hail to the pot, and you say Penn State, like, what? And then you and I make the exact same sound, Josh. We both go, oh, like this. And Tara saw me watching it a few times. And she's like, you guys spend too much time together. And I'm like, for people that don't live on the same side of the state, Josh and I spend too much time together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, it's Ohio State this week. Wait, Michigan, Ohio State. There we go.
You just poked his butt. Number 17. You had a whole finger in there.
They did, didn't I?
Yeah.
I tried to avoid
Or number 17. He doesn't even know it.
All right.
He's probably somewhere. Where's my
stop. Stop. Wherever you're going, stop. Has anybody looked at the weather?
That's gonna be like 40.
Yeah, I think the weather right now is supposed to be pretty good. So
yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, right.
But
it's just more excuses if the other side loses.
Yeah. That was the best part about last year. At home, beautiful weather. Yeah, but then they were
38, mostly cloudy.
Yep.
Football weather.
Yep.
So, Brock, have you been to Michigan, Ohio State before?
Yeah, I was there. I was there last year and the year before, and in 2019.
Well, never mind.
This will be my fourth in a row.
2019 was terrible.
Yeah, that was a rough one.
Ugh.
J.K. Dobbins.
Yes.
Ball like every play.
Dude, the fumble.
Yeah.
Bounced right back into his lap. I think we told this story in the last pod. And I looked at Waddy and I'm like, oh my God, here we go.
Yeah. That's pretty much the perfect description of how that rivalry was going at that point.
Yeah, just everything. Well, that's kind of my point. What I feel like's changed in this rivalry, right? Like things are bouncing the other way. But all right, before we start another podcast here. All right, Maize and Blue review, Michigan.rivals.com, YouTube, like, subscribe, Spotify, wherever you find us. There we go. We appreciate you guys so much. We'll see you next week, hopefully recapping the third straight victory for Michigan over Ohio State in the game. But either way, be sure to join us here. Hail to the podcast, brought to you by Maize and Blue.